guys, I'm Miss Anna, the Youth Services Assistant Librarian for Decatur Public Library, and welcome to the Young Adult Fiction part of our virtual celebration of Black literature. Be sure to check our channel for other videos where we'll recommend books aimed at younger readers and adults. But for this one, I hope you like young adult books because I'm about to share with you 5 books that you should read in celebration of Black literature. Now, when it comes to young adult, we have several titles in our collection that you might recognize from Black authors. So for instance, we have The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, or you might recognize Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. Both of these books have made it from the page to the big screen. Or you might recognize Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, which has a film in development right now. Or what about Atlanta author Nick Stone, whose 2017 breakout novel, Dear Martin, got a ton of recognition for the way it tackles race relations in America. You might recognize those, or the young adult section also has classics you're sure to have seen on your summer reading list at school. And these are books like Monster by Walter Dean Myers, or Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor. Or maybe you might recognize The Skin I'm In by Sharon G. Flake. In 1999, this book won the Coretta Scott King / John Steptoe Award for New Talent. And I know you might not be able to see it on the camera, but if you look closely right here, there's a badge, and on this badge it says that the award was received for New Talent. Monster actually has a badge like this too. This badge was for, in the year 2000, Monster was an honor book. Now, the Coretta Scott King Award, you might not be familiar with it. It's awarded annually, like the Newbery or Caldecott's, except that award is focused only on African American authors. And the award is actually named for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife. I want to take a few minutes to share with you 5 books that might be new to you, but that I think have valuable narratives that I hope you will enjoy reading. Now, the first book I have to share with you is This Is My America by Kim Johnson. In this book, 17-year-old Tracy Beaumont's dad is on death row, and his time is running out. He has less than 300 days left until he's executed. Only thing is, he's innocent. Tracy writes letters to an organization called Innocent X asking for their help to get him released, which she's been doing for the past 7 years. While trying to get her father's case reopened, her track star brother is wrongfully accused of murdering a white girl, and Tracy is determined not to lose him either. When Tracy begins investigating what really happened with her brother, she uncovers pieces of racist history about her Texas town. This book has some really moving parts, especially the Know Your Rights sessions that talk about how young Black teens should interact with the police. Which reminds me, if you read this book, or for that part at least, one thing I want to encourage you to do is listen to Adrenaline Rush by Rudy Francisco. He's a Black spoken word poet, so you're on YouTube, so in the little search bar, just type in Adrenaline Rush button poetry, and it'll come right up. But that's what this novel is about. Another thing that I want you to be aware of is this book is Kim Johnson's debut novel, so it's her very first book that she's ever written. And I want you to know that before reading this novel, because once you read it, you will not believe that this is her first book. I still barely believe it. This book is really, really something. It's amazing. But that's that one. Moving on to number 2. We'll set that one right there. Along the same lines of injustice and racial profiling is All American Boys by Jason Reynolds and Brendan Keeley. This book is told in dual narration. There are 2 narrators and 2 authors too, and both are guys. First, there's Rashad. Rashad is a Black teen. He's artistic and he's in the ROTC at school. Then there's Quinn. Quinn is white and plays basketball. He and Rashad are classmates. Not friends or anything, just classmates. And when Rashad is mistaken for a shoplifter at a store, a cop begins to beat him up. Quinn sees this and recognizes both Rashad and the cop, but he doesn't really know the reason why this is happening, so he doesn't really say anything. He feels like it's none of his business. So when people at school start talking about why Rashad's not at school, Quinn doesn't say what he saw, but someone filmed the whole incident, and soon the whole school has seen it and is talking about it, and then the whole nation. People begin to divide on what they think happened. So in this book, you see Rashad's story, and for the bulk of this, he's actually in the hospital, so you see his recovery there. And then there's Quinn's struggle at school, and you see him finding his courage to speak up about what he saw. Because if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. And that is a quote from this book. This book would be good for a book club. It also leads to a lot of discussions about community activism, police brutality, profiling, and courage. So I would recommend this one, especially if you have a boy reader who might not want to read all these books about girls. Another debut book I have is The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds Reed. The setting for this book is a little bit of a historical fiction. It's set in LA, Los Angeles, in 1992, after Rodney King was beaten by 4 policemen, but before the officers who did the beating had been acquitted. Our main character is Ashley Bennett, and she's pictured here on the cover. Her family is well-to-do, and they pay to send her to a private school, where she is one of the few black kids. She's a high school senior with just a few weeks left of school. She's preparing for college, going to the beach with friends, and dealing with normal coming-of-age things. Along those lines, though, she's learning about herself and how she fits into the world. Then you have LA, who becomes more vocal about the Rodney King beating, and the whole mood of LA changes. LA is kind of almost like a character itself in this book. There are riots, there are fires, and as a result, Ashley begins to go through changes too, because she's finding out like kind of who she is. This book touches on race, class, privilege, and finding your own voice amongst chaos and learning how to use it. If you like character-based stories, then you will enjoy this one. But I will say, this one does have a little vulgarity in it, so be aware of that. Language, accent, actions, and such. So just a little FYI there. We'll set that one here. Now, for the next one, I don't have a physical copy of the book because our library doesn't have a physical copy of the book. I actually listened to this book on audiobook. It's available if you're a Decatur Public Library patron. It's available on Chameleonet, both the audiobook and the ebook. But this is called I Will Always Write Back by Caitlin Alafranca and Martin Gonda, which this book is actually set in 1997. But this is a nonfiction account of how 2 people on completely opposite ends of the world became friends through one school assignment. In this story, everyone in Caitlin's 7th grade English class is getting pen pals, and they get to choose what country their pen pal is going to be from. So while all Caitlin's classmates are choosing European countries like France and England to get a pen pal, Caitlin looks at the world map and chooses somewhere completely different, Zimbabwe. Now, Martin Gonda is the young boy that becomes her pen pal, and this story is told in dual perspective, so you get a good feel of Martin's impoverished African land and Caitlin's upper middle class Pennsylvanian city. So when Caitlin, she had no idea that Zimbabwe was one of the poorest countries in the world when she chose it that one day in English class. The differences between their worlds are so stark, but in some ways so similar, and there's a lot to write about to each other. And education is a big topic that her and Martin discuss. Now, Martin is also one of the top students at his school. He's very, very smart. And when his place at school is put in jeopardy, Caitlin does everything she can to help him. I don't want to give away too much of the story, so I will stop right there. But if you can, try and find the audiobook for this one. And this one, I would actually say that this one is a good one for 5th or 6th grade and up. Adults too, I would recommend this one too. Finally, the last book I have to share with you is super, super special because it is written by sisters. Dear Haiti, Love Elaine by Maika Mullite and Maritza Mullite. Now, these sisters are daughters of Haitian immigrants, just like our main character, Elaine Beauperlant. Elaine is a 17-year-old girl living in Miami, Florida, and attending private religious school. Then something goes completely wrong in one of her school presentations. And in order to not be expelled, she is sent to Haiti for a few months to stay with her aunt. Now, the bulk of this book takes place in Haiti. And while in Haiti, Elaine interns for an organization called Patron Pal, which takes donations and uses them to support Haitian children in need. Her story is told through news articles, letters, diary entries, text messages, and of course, narration. Mixed media can bring so much insight into a story because it helps tell a story from so many different platforms. But I know that type of writing isn't for everyone. This was a delight to read. You learn about Haiti, the beliefs of the people there, the island, the voodoo, and there's even a bit of colonialism in this book. Plus, this book is funny. Elaine is so relatable. She's proud of her heritage, her culture. You see her natural hair on the cover. I think this cover is just beautiful. And this book, I did not want to stop reading this book, and I didn't want it to end. And you'll probably feel the same. So after you finish this book, Google the authors and find some interviews to read about this book. The sisters are just as relatable and informative as Elaine. And plus it's enriching to have insight into an author's thought process behind a book. So for any of these books, I encourage you to find interviews, visit the author's website, look for other books that they've written, or reach out to the author themselves. You can do that. One thing that I personally love doing is reading a book's dedication at the very beginning of the book. So for Dear Haiti, Love Elaine, this one, I didn't quite understand the book dedication for this one, so I emailed the two authors just asking them about it, and they answered my question, which I thought was pretty cool. But that's all that I had to share with you today. I hope you enjoy reading these books and enjoy our virtual celebration of Black literature. Thanks, guys. Bye.